I scaled one of my clients' Facebook ad accounts by over 200% year over year with over a 4 ROAS. And this isn't uncommon. Over the years, I've been able to help dozens of brands not only scale their ad spend into the 6 and 7 figure ranges, but do so with a profitable return on ad spend. And so you often hear the saying, addition by subtraction. And the reason I bring that up is because in today's video, I'll be covering the 4 biggest optimizations, which are really just things to avoid when you're running your meta ads that'll help increase your return on ad spend in the short term and in the long term. And make sure to stick around to the end, because if you're running a Facebook ad account right now and you're not quite where you want to be, there's a very high chance that you're doing one of these 4 mistakes. Mistake number 1 is simply having too many active campaigns. And I get it, it's very tempting to launch a new campaign when you get a new product, when performance is going through a bit of a lull period. You just think, hey, if I launch a new campaign, surely that'll get me a performance lift in the short term. Or you may even be superstitious and think, hey, if I touch a campaign right now that's doing really good and I try to scale the budget, the ROAS is going to tank. And so maybe you just end up creating a whole new campaign as a result of that mindset. But guys, trust me, it hurts performance in the long term, and most times in the short term, it's actually not beneficial either. And to put things into context, I've audited over $100 million in ad spend, and this is typically the very first thing I fix when I partner with a client, because it kills performance for 3 main reasons. The first and main reason this actually hurts your performance is because if you are allocating your budget too thinly across several different campaigns, then the machine learning never really gets an opportunity to reach its fullest potential. If you have fewer campaigns and your overall budget's going towards, let's just say 1 or 2 of those campaigns, it has a better chance of getting stronger and stronger over time, because the machine learning will start to learn what users are most likely to do the action, whether it's a purchase or becoming a lead form submission, whatever that action is, the algorithm will get more and more efficient over time at optimizing for that event and essentially targeting the right individuals who are most likely to complete that event. Again, this only happens if you have sufficient data going into each campaign. The second reason this impacts performance is because it just creates complicated ad management for the ad manager. So if you're running the meta ads, it creates unnecessary ad management and time out of your calendar when you can be focused on doing other things that'll move the business forward, because you're so in the weeds on every single campaign that you have. The fewer campaigns you have, not only the more statistically significant the data will be, meaning the optimizations you have in there are more data backed, but also it's going to free up tons of time for you to do other meaningful tasks that bring the ad account forward, like conversion rate optimization, or even creating new ad creative for the ad account. The third and final reason you should avoid creating too many campaigns in your ad account is simply because you're going to overlap all your audiences. So when you overlap your audiences, you're essentially entering the same auction for 2 different campaigns, which is essentially going to inflate your own cost on your ad account and hurt your ad performance, but also it's going to lead to less meaningful results. Again, if you can consolidate those insights for the same audience to know these type of ads, this type of landing page, this type of product works best for this particular audience, then you're going to be better off, because you're going to have isolated insights on a campaign that's statistically significant, which allows you to actually make data-driven decisions. And so just to give you guys some context, here's a client of mine, and we have 3 campaign setups. The way that this works is we have a campaign dedicated to creative testing. We have a campaign dedicated to scaling the winners from this campaign. And then we have a campaign dedicated primarily for different retargeting and warm audiences. And so as you can see, this client's getting a profitable return on ad spend based on our unit economics. And this campaign structure works just fine for us. All that to say, make sure you keep it simple. Simple scales, fancy fails. That's kind of a cheesy term that I like to go by. But truly, if you go into your ad accounts right now and you were just to look how many campaigns do you have active, if it's more than 5 campaigns, more than 6 campaigns, and you're not hitting the result you want to hit, this is likely a big factor of why. Depending on your budget, you're likely splicing the data too thin, and these campaigns are never being able to reach their fullest potential because of the budget distribution. Okay, now that you guys know not to target too many campaigns, how do we target people when we actually have the campaigns built? And so this actually bleeds into mistake number 2 that I see people make, which is they over-target audiences in their campaigns. And so what am I getting at? I'm not saying that targeting audiences is a bad idea in meta, but I am saying loosen up on how much you're targeting. I see some people and they have like 15 different lists that they're targeting, so many different affinity or interest lists that they're targeting as well, and they have it super dialed in, or at least they think so. And I get it, everyone loves to target. It gives them control and a sense of proof that they know their target audience for their business. What if I told you that going into your ad sets and targeting several different audiences or running split tests on audiences was a complete waste of time? Although running single interest audiences can be beneficial, I typically only run broad match for the majority of my accounts. To put it plainly, I've spent millions of dollars on meta ads, and broad match has consistently been the winner when I stack it against interest-based audiences. And the reason reason why boils down to a few basic principles. The main reason I see this perform the best and have the most potential for scale at a similar or better ROAS is because with a broad audience, you're not capped. If I have a 4+ ROAS on an audience that is targeted, the second I try to triple that budget, that particular audience may be tapped out at a specific point, and then you hit your point of diminishing returns really quick, and you're just spending more budget, which Meta will love to do. They'll just increase the amount of times they show your ad to the same number of person in that target pool, instead of actually finding net new users to show that ad in front of who are most likely to convert. So again, just to put it plainly, broad can essentially scale to the moon simply because they are not bound by targeting restrictions. All they're looking for is a result, and they know how to get you that result because they know the types of people who've interacted with your ad in the past, and they know how to find people who look just like them across all of Meta. The second principle on why broad or even just single interest works better than targeting several different interest groups and overly targeting your ads to a specific people group is because Meta's algorithm looks at your creative, they look at your landing page, they know the intent of it, and they know the audience that's most likely to engage with that creative or have interest for your creative or your product. Essentially what this means is the more engaging and clear your creative is on what it is that your offer is, Meta's able to determine what audience is most likely not only to interact with your creative, but if your goal is to purchase for your campaign, they know what audience is most likely to actually purchase your product and who's in the market for your product just based on your creative alone, meaning what is in your ad creative, your ad copy, and on your landing page. And lastly, when you over target a specific group of people in a targeting set, you increase your chances of ad fatigue. And so what is ad fatigue? Ad fatigue essentially means is if you were to convert on a specific ad from Facebook, and then you were to continue to see that ad, you as that specific user would probably stop engaging with that ad at a certain point because you've seen it so many times and you've actually already purchased from that ad. And so ad fatigue is more likely to happen in a campaign that's overly targeting an audience because again, that audience pool is only so big. And so as you scale your budget, that audience is gonna see that same ad over and over and over again versus when you're broad targeting or running very limited targeting settings, that ad is less likely to hit ad fatigue and become less and less effective over time. All right, great. Now that you know that broad match really is your best friend, I'm gonna hop right into mistake number 3. This is optimization that you need to make that you should just avoid, /do more of, and that is create more ad creative. Launch more ads in your ad account. Not enough people do this. This is probably one of the most overlooked optimizations in 90% of accounts. And so if you're failing to launch new ad creative and launch new ad creative consistently, then this is likely why your ROAS is stale. Whenever you launch new ad creative in your account, you essentially give Meta the opportunity to showcase your ad and hyper-focus budget on a new winner. And so what do I mean by this? You've likely seen in your ad account, if you launch, let's just say 4 ads, that one of them may get the majority of the spend for a really long period of time. And the reason that is because Meta has determined that ad, they have the greatest confidence in that ad, getting people to interact with it and actually become a customer. So launching new ad creative essentially gives opportunities for new ads to become the top spenders, meaning the top performers in your ad account. This essentially means launching new ad creative is your campaign optimization. If you have a low ROAS week or month, your optimization could very well be that you're just not launching enough new ad creative. And just to drill in a little bit deeper on this, the reason this will cause you to get a better ROAS is because Meta rewards engagement on their platform. So if you launch an ad and Meta has high confidence that it's gonna get good engagement, and then it actually does get good engagement, Meta's gonna lower your CPM costs, meaning they're gonna charge you a cheaper cost to actually show your ad on their platform. If it's not being engaged with enough and it's kind of boring or stale creative, you'll probably see that your CPM price is pretty high. And that's because no one really engages with your ad. Meta's whole mission is to keep people engaged and on their platform. So they will reward advertisers with lower cost if your ads are actually engaging. And so the way to actually do this and influence this is to test different concepts to understand what actually brings in not only the lowest CPM, but the best return on ad spend. And so you may be thinking, well, how do I understand what things to test? Everything seems redundant. Maybe I can launch a different background. And here's my rule of thumb. Start with your unique selling points. What points are you really proud of your product? Why do people buy your product? There's probably 5 different reasons people buy your product. Make 10 variations of each of those reasons. So maybe it's because you have so many reviews, or maybe it's because you're a naturally sourced product. Drill into each of those selling points in different creative formats. Maybe one's a GIF, maybe one's a single image, maybe one's a video, maybe one's a testimonial. You can create and iterate so many different copies on a selling point Just start there to understand what your audience is most attracted to about your product. I love to leverage the Facebook ad library tool to spy on competitors, to understand what they're doing, how long they've had ads active, and to iterate based on what's working best for their ads and what their customer base is responding to. There's also tons of really great tools to go and do creative research. I really like Motion as well. They're a really good platform to leverage as well if you want to ideate and understand on how to make effective ad creative to launch in your account. Optimization number 4 / thing that people just are not doing enough of is they simply avoid conversion rate optimization or landing page testing. And so if you're doing that, just stop. And I'll explain why. Essentially, this is the easiest way not to touch anything in your Meta Ads account and still get a better ROAS. Meaning you don't have to do any of the other 3 things I said you were probably avoiding or making mistakes on earlier in the video. But if you get this right, you can increase your return on ad spend simply because the people actually clicking on the ads already are gonna convert at a higher rate, meaning you're gonna be spending less money to acquire the same customers, which in turn will increase your return on ad spend. Okay, so you may be thinking, okay, what should I test? I don't necessarily have a developer who can go and make these functionality differences on my landing page. Just start with the destination where you're sending them. You may be sending somebody to a collection page, you may be sending somebody to a home page, or you may be sending people to a direct product page. Test those to start. Just test the differences in conversion rates on those 3 primary destinations to start. So if you're running an evergreen ad and you're sending somebody to the home page, run another test and test it to sending them to a specific collection, like the best sellers collection, or send them directly to the product that you're advertising in your ad. See which one converts. I've been surprised enough to know that homepage does not convert better than best sellers, and best sellers does not necessarily convert better than sending people to the direct product page. I always test these for every individual brand because every individual brand is different based on the current function and design of that website. And the reason there's often such a difference in conversion rate on sending individuals to different landing pages is simply because of the user experience and the relevance to the ad and the product they've seen and where they're actually going. So if it's easier to convert, if there's more credibility on those pages, if it's more mobile responsive on those pages, people are likely to convert. And so that's why I recommend just testing those 3 against each other to start. If you have more budget and you have a developer in-house who can actually dabble with some functionality pieces on your website, like adding a sticky cart option on your website when somebody adds something to the cart, or adding a specific banner on a destination URL where one doesn't have it, I recommend investing into that and then using the tool to measure the difference in conversion rate. And there's a few tools that make this easy. I love Microsoft Clarity. It's a free conversion rate optimization tool that lets you see the individual conversion rates on specific meta campaigns that you have running. And then I also love Intelligent. It's a really easy way to split test different designs on the same destination URL that you may have running in a specific campaign. Great, so thank you for sticking around to the end. And just to recap on the 4 things you should be avoiding if you want to improve your ROAS in your Facebook ads. Number 1 is avoid having too many campaigns active at one time. Number 2 is to avoid hyper targeting or just overly targeting audiences in your campaigns. Number 3 is to avoid the practice of not launching enough new ad creative in your campaigns. You should be consistently doing this on a regular basis. And number 4 is to avoid the practice of not investing your time and energy into conversion rate optimization. As I mentioned, this can be the easiest thing you do outside of Facebook ads to improve your actual Facebook ad ROAS. Perfect. So if you think you have Facebook ads covered, click above to watch my recent video where I go over how AI has impacted Google Ads and how you can use it for your benefit today. And if you're looking for somebody to run your ads, hit the link in the description to book a meeting with my team. Otherwise, subscribe to stay up to date with more videos like this.